A broken promise. The ceasefire crumbles. The echoes of hope that once filled the air are now replaced by the haunting sounds of destruction. The ceasefire was supposed to be a beacon of hope. It was a fragile thread that many clung to, believing it could lead to a brighter future, a chance for peace to take hold, for children to play without fear, for families to rebuild their lives. It was a chance for families in Gaza to breathe, to sit together without the constant dread of what might come next, to dream, to rebuild, to plant seeds of hope in the soil of despair, hoping they would grow into something beautiful. But that hope was shattered. The dreams of a peaceful future were buried under the rubble of renewed conflict. The truce, as fragile as it was, crumbled into dust. Announcements of peace were quickly overshadowed by the harsh reality of war. The bombs returned, raining down on Gaza with terrifying force. The night sky lit up with explosions, a grim reminder of the fragile nature of peace. The fragile peace, a distant memory. The streets, once filled with life, now lay deserted and silent. The news came in a torrent of breaking news alerts, each update more devastating than the last, painting a picture of despair. The ceasefire, barely holding on for a few precious days, was broken. The brief respite was over and the cycle of violence resumed. The details were still murky, a blame game already underway. Leaders pointed fingers, but the people of Gaza bore the brunt of the consequences. But one thing was clear: the cycle of violence had begun again. The hopes for a lasting peace were dashed, replaced by the harsh reality of conflict. The world watched, many with a sense of grim resignation. This was not new. This was Gaza, a place where the cycle of violence seemed unending, a place where ceasefires were broken as easily as they were made, where promises of peace were as fleeting as the wind, a place where hope seemed to die so quickly. Yet amidst the despair, the people of Gaza continued to hold on, waiting for a day when peace might finally take root. Children of war. Innocent lives lost. The children. Always the children. Their faces, etched with fear and confusion, became the haunting symbols of this conflict. They are too young to understand the complexities of war and politics. But they understand fear. They understand loss. The numbers, cold and stark, told a story of unimaginable suffering. Over 300 children, their lives extinguished. Each number a son, a daughter, a brother, a sister, each a life full of potential, snuffed out. Their playgrounds were reduced to rubble. Their schools, supposed sanctuaries of learning, now bombed out shells. The lucky ones, if you can call them that, were left with only the clothes on their backs and the haunting memories of what they had lost. Shattered lives, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Gaza, even before the latest escalation, was a place on the brink. Years of blockade had crippled the economy and left its people desperate. Now it faces a humanitarian catastrophe of epic proportions. The numbers are staggering. Over 44,000 killed, thousands upon thousands injured. Hospitals, already stretched thin before the recent violence, are overwhelmed. They lack basic medical supplies, their corridors overflowing with the injured and the dying. Doctors and nurses working tirelessly are forced to make impossible choices, deciding who gets treated and who doesn't. The water system, already fragile, is on the verge of collapse. Sewage systems are failing. Disease, a silent killer, stalks the streets. Food is scarce, with families forced to queue for hours for a meager meal. Rubble and ruins, infrastructure in shambles. The once vibrant streets of Gaza now lie in desolation, a stark reminder of the relentless conflict that has ravaged this land. The echoes of explosions and the cries of the displaced haunt the air, painting a grim picture of the current state of affairs. The physical landscape of Gaza is a testament to the brutal efficiency of modern warfare. From above, the city looks like a patchwork of destruction, with craters and collapsed buildings marking the spots where bombs have fallen. The infrastructure, once a symbol of progress and development, now stands as a monument to devastation. Entire neighborhoods have been reduced to rubble. Homes, businesses, and places of worship have all been obliterated. The sense of community that once thrived here has been shattered, leaving behind a landscape of despair and hopelessness. Mosques, which once stood as pillars of faith and unity, all lie in ruins. The spiritual heart of the community has been torn apart, leaving the faithful without a place to gather and find solace. The scars of war, deep and enduring, are etched into the very fabric of the city. Every street, every building, every corner tells a story of loss and suffering. The once bustling markets and lively neighborhoods are now ghostly remnants of their former selves. Schools, once places of learning and laughter, are now silent. The laughter of children has been replaced by the eerie silence of empty classrooms and the rubble of what were once centers of education and hope for the future. Hospitals, symbols of hope and healing, are crippled. The places where the sick and injured sought refuge and care are now barely functional, struggling to provide even the most basic services amidst the chaos. The power grid, already unreliable, is on the brink of collapse. Frequent outages and the lack of consistent electricity have plunged the city into darkness, both literally and metaphorically, affecting every aspect of daily life. The blockade, a constant strangling grip, has turned a dire situation into a humanitarian catastrophe. The flow of essential goods and aid is severely restricted, exacerbating the suffering of the people and making recovery seem like a distant dream. The people of Gaza are left to pick up the pieces, to rebuild their lives, their homes, their communities. Despite the overwhelming odds, there is a resilient spirit among the people, a determination to rise from the ashes and reclaim their lives. But how do you rebuild when the world seems determined to keep you trapped in a cycle of violence and despair? The path to recovery is fraught with challenges, but the indomitable will of the people of Gaza remains a beacon of hope in these dark times. Section 5. A World Unseen, the Media's Blind Spot. The world watched, but did they really see? The conflict in Gaza, for all its brutality, often felt like a distant war. A tragedy unfolding on the margins of our collective consciousness. The media, for the most part, offered only fleeting glimpses of the suffering, a few minutes of coverage here and there, sandwiched between stories of celebrity scandals and stock market fluctuations. Where were the in-depth reports? The human stories, the voices of the Palestinian people, their lives upended, their dreams shattered? Why was the world so quick to look away? This is not just a Palestinian tragedy, it is a global one. A failure of humanity to act when action is desperately needed. Section 6. The world reacts, international response and legal action. The international community, as is often the case, responded with a mix of condemnation and cautious diplomacy. There were calls for restraint, for a return to negotiations, for a lasting peace. But these words, however well-intentioned, rang hollow in the streets of Gaza. The International Criminal Court, after much deliberation, issued arrest warrants. Not just for Hamas leaders but for Israeli officials as well. A bold move, some would say, a necessary one to hold those responsible for war crimes accountable. But will these legal actions bring justice? Will they offer solace to the families who have lost loved ones? Will they deter future violence? Only time will tell. Section 7. Ramadan under siege. A time for peace, marred by violence. Ramadan. A time of reflection, of prayer, of family, of peace. It is a month where Muslims around the world come together to fast from dawn until sunset, to break their fast with loved ones and to engage in deep spiritual practices. It is a time meant for tranquility and unity. But in Gaza, even this holy month was not spared from the violence. The echoes of bombings and the sight of destruction overshadowed the sacredness of Ramadan. The people of Gaza faced a harsh reality where their moments of peace were constantly interrupted by the horrors of war. The ceasefire, brief as it was, offered a flicker of hope. It was a momentary pause in the relentless violence, a chance for families to come together, to breathe, and to find a semblance of normalcy amidst the chaos. These fleeting moments were cherished, as they provided a rare opportunity for the people to reconnect with their faith and each other, a chance for families to break their fasts together, to find solace in their faith. These moments were precious, as they allowed the people of Gaza to hold on to their traditions and find strength in their community. The shared meals and prayers were a testament to their resilience and unwavering spirit. But that hope was short-lived. The violence resumed, shattering the brief peace that had been so desperately clung to. The renewed bombings brought back the fear and uncertainty, leaving the people of Gaza once again in a state of turmoil. The bombs did not discriminate. They fell on homes, on mosques, on hospitals. The destruction was widespread, affecting every aspect of life in Gaza. No place was safe, and the sense of security that had been momentarily restored was once again ripped away. They fell on homes, on mosques, on hospitals. The places that were meant to be sanctuaries of peace and healing were turned into scenes of devastation. The people of Gaza were left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives, trying to find hope amidst the ruins. They shattered the stillness of the night, replacing it with the deafening roar of explosions and the terrified screams of children. The nights, which should have been filled with prayer and reflection, were instead filled with fear and chaos. The people of Gaza were forced to endure sleepless nights, constantly on edge, wondering if they would see the light of day. Imagine, if you will, breaking your fast not with dates and sweet tea, but with the bitter taste of fear. The simple act of eating a meal became a moment fraught with anxiety, as the threat of violence loomed over every gathering. The joy of sharing a meal with loved ones was overshadowed by the constant fear of an impending attack. Imagine spending your nights not in prayer and reflection but huddled in fear, praying that your home is not the next target. The people of Gaza live this reality every day, their faith and resilience tested in the most unimaginable ways. Yet, despite the constant threat, they continue to hold on to hope, finding strength in their faith and in each other. Section 8. A call to action, breaking the cycle of violence. We must not allow this cycle of violence to continue. We cannot stand idly by, our heads turned away in apathy, as a humanitarian catastrophe unfolds before our very eyes. We must demand better from our leaders, from the international community, from ourselves. We must amplify the voices of the Palestinian people, their stories of resilience, their dreams of a just and lasting peace. We must hold accountable those who perpetrate violence regardless of their side. We must push for a future where ceasefires are not broken, where children in Gaza can sleep soundly at night, where hope is not a casualty of war. This is not about taking sides, this is about standing on the side of humanity. Section 9. Hope endures. The Palestinian spirit of resilience. Despite the unimaginable hardships they face, the Palestinian people have not given up hope. They continue to rebuild their lives, brick by broken brick, dream by shattered dream. Their spirit, unbroken, is a testament to the enduring power of the human will. In the face of adversity, they find solace in their faith, in their families, in their communities. They find hope in the laughter of children playing amidst the rubble, in the determination of doctors and nurses working tirelessly to save lives, in the simple act of sharing a meal with loved ones. Their resilience is a beacon of light in the darkness, a reminder that even in the bleakest of times the human spirit can endure.